I have a fundamentally, I think, somewhat intuitive approach to harmony. One of the things that I do a lot of is just putting my hands down and seeing what something sounds like. But I have certain structured ways that I work on harmony. In the same way that we were talking about with rhythm, with putting it into your body and how that makes it really feel like you're joining something that's already happening. The I've found a similar way to do that with harmony, which is something very, very simple, actually. It's something that people tell you to do all the time when you're coming up in music school, which is to transpose, which is to take songs that you learn and learn them in a new key. Not with the vibe of being the king or queen of the jam session. It's not about playing Cherokee in 12 keys. You can do that if you like. It can feel very strong and fancy for having those skills, but that's not really the point. The point of it for me is taking a song and just getting a new perspective on it. You'll sometimes even find that once you put it in a new key, that you just like it better there. So it's not about moving it to every key. It's more like taking it around during the course of practicing, taking a piece of music into one or two other keys and spending your time with them. You don't need to be like, I need to rush through it and get to this. This is useful for standards. It's useful for original music as well. It'll be slow at first, but it's best to do this with kind of simple songs at the beginning when you're just getting used to this. But I'm not going to do a very simple song. I'm going to show you, I'm going to work on the same song that we were working on with rhythm. Well, I don't know that I'll show you how I would work on transposing it because I already have worked on transposing that, but maybe I'll try playing it in a key that I don't know it in at all. So we've got it there. Let's see, just pick a random key. I'll go as far away from it as I can. Out of time at first. Love it there. I'm gonna try it somewhere else. spend time with this, you start finding new passageways through the chord changes, and it starts feeling less and less like you're just making it from one chord to the next, and you're engaged with the whole like fabric of the harmonic, the world of the song. And then you bring it back home. Which it's really, this is something that it'll take time to get it, and you know, I'm still screwing up on this stuff, but it really, this is one of the most fundamental ways to just become comfortable with a song from a whole bunch of perspectives. Now, there's other things we can definitely talk about with harmony. Harmony is the mind, right? Usually the mind is doing plenty with improvised musicians. Usually it's the mind which is running the show, more often than not, at least for many people who come through the jazz education system, I've found. And so I tend to spend more of my time focused on the rhythm and the melody. That said, there's all sorts of interesting ways that you can find to create new passageways and force yourself to break your habits and find new approaches. One of the very simple things that you can do is to find a particular scale tone of every chord that you need to land on the downbeat. So at the beginning, that might look like just playing that note, you know? Sort of starts very simple, right? So it quickly, you know, it'll start with you being sort of boxed in and very limited at first, but it starts to become kind of an interesting game to how to make it still be interesting for yourself, how to land somewhere but then quickly get away from there. Having a fixed destination of what that note's going to be can be very interesting to make you find different ways through the harmony than you normally would. And you can do that, of course, with any scale tone. The third is a very useful one because it's such a functional tone. The point for me is you need to figure out what the third is of every chord, and it's up to you to figure out how you're going to get from the third to the third. That's where the creativity is. So there's all sorts of patterns that you can learn, about how to get from one to the other. Bebop scales and things like that can be very useful, but they can also calcify and harden into habits that become prisons. So practice those types of things, absolutely, but just make sure that that you also become aware of what you're just doing by rote and what it is that you're actually hearing. And so one of the reasons why I really like an exercise like this, creating a very simple rule, making it a game for myself, but then trying to find as much freedom within that structure as I can. So you can do this in time and out. I mean, it's best to do it really in time, to just force yourself to respond to it in real time. But it's also interesting to do it totally rubato as well. One of the other ways that you can get your mind involved is to find like a specific interval and work with that kind of obsessively, and work that into your melodic phrases or even into your voicings. So when you're like trying to find voicings through a song, have a specific shape or a specific set of rules that you might want to work with, a simple kind of clustered voicing, which might be made up of 1 second, either major or minor, and 1/3, either major or minor. So you can make that your rule, for example. And then how are you going to use that on a song? So not a third, already breaking my rule. For example, have a major seventh in every voicing. Just somewhere in it. Just like little ideas that you can hold on to, and sometimes they'll sound cool, sometimes they'll sound not so cool, but the point is to explore, right? The point is to explore and find little ways to make a game for yourself, right? So I was using like just a seventh as something to put inside of the voicing. You can make your own games up, you know? Have voicings that are mostly structured with as many fourths as possible, for example, which will give you kind of a more open, transparent, powerful sound. Or, you know, just make a game of moving through these songs using very close voicings. And then you can apply that melodically as well, in a way of just breaking out of your comfort zone and forcing yourself to find new angles through things. Like I was using sevenths in melodic structures, so that's bigger jumps. It's just something that you can use to like be a something that maybe you wouldn't always throw in there all the time, and just to mix up your habits, find a way to engage yourself and be like, well, if I have to use a seventh, what am I gonna do? You know.